Comic book fans, this is H.H. Sherman from Sigma Comics coming to you from the greatest city in the world, New York City, that's right. Typically I'll take a sip of my Calico mug, but I have it in the sink right now, so I can't use it, and I'm out of my favorite drink, so we're going to skip that. But listen, if you like these videos, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, you're going to love it. Issue 8, Here Comes Calico, on the website right now. Look at the Calico. Look at the Calico. Absolutely awesome cover by Garner Beal. That's issue 8 of Here Comes Calico. The variant by Tony Santiago. Look at that, folks. Not for kids. This comic book series is not for kids. You already know that, most of you. Look at the Robert Atkins cover. This is a G.I. Joe artist. Look at that awesome Calico. Absolutely awesome. Again, not for kids. Folks, we fight animal abuse through comics. Fight animal abuse through comics. You're going to love it. Look at this. Take a look at that. That is the Calico statue. This thing is huge. It's a foot tall, 12 inches. Look at that thing. We have a very limited supply. Get that. SigmaComics.com. Fight animal abuse through comics. So the Punisher. Look at this, folks. See what this is? Look, take a good look at this. All right. This is one of my prized possessions. I don't really have super old comics. I have a few that are old. This one's from the 80s, and this is my mentor, Mike Baron. Actually, what you're looking at right here, this is actually pretty awesome. This is a very important comic book for Calico history, because this cover, okay, is drawn by Klaus Janson, another very important person in the Here Comes Calico story. And of course, Mike Baron is a very important person in that story. Mike Baron is my mentor, my friend and mentor. He's giving me enormous advice and guidance in writing Here Comes Calico. And Klaus Janson is really the first person who helped me out with the series. He was the first person I turned to, and he gave me help and advice and guidance right away without any problems or questions. And without Klaus Janson, there's no way that the Calico looks as polished as he does. And I appreciate both of these gentlemen. And again, both of these gentlemen are key to this book right here. This is the Punisher #1. This is the Unlimited series that was written by Mike Baron for a good almost 5 years. And he kept, being invited back on there as well. So I'm going to talk to you for a little while right here about the Punisher and what Marvel's done to this character. This is probably going to go down in the history books, not just of, in comics, but in business in general, as one of the biggest business debacles in the history of American business. I don't know if I'm sure there are a few examples out there, but I don't know if there is an example of a company intentionally and willfully destroying a brand. Now, we tons of stories of businesses that have gone under for dumb mistakes that were made or poor mismanagement, right? I don't know of one where a brand that's worth millions, and I mean millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, possibly billions, has been intentionally destroyed. Let me make this clear to the audience. The Punisher is worth many millions of dollars in movies, video games, toys, merchandise. I don't know what the exact number is, but it has to be in the hundred millions, if not billions. There certainly hasn't been a billion-dollar Punisher movie. I certainly think there can be. However, collectively, all of the business segments, certainly point in that direction, close to it at least, I would think. The Punisher has always been not always, but the Punisher started becoming a very popular character following the tenure of Mike Baron. Okay, once Mike Baron started writing the series, that's really when the character took off, if you will. There were a couple of gentlemen, a couple of folks actually that worked on it prior to the Unlimited series. There was a mini series, which I believe was in '86, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken on that, but it was either '86 or '87. And I think that was a Steve Grant, I think. Carl Potts was on there. I know it was a small team that was assembled there to just get this character off the shelf. It had been introduced about 10 years earlier, maybe 10, 12 years earlier, by Jerry Conway. This would have been 1974. That was the year I was born. So this character has a very special meaning to me. Aside from the fact that we draw inspiration, the Calico certainly draws inspiration from the Punisher. He was born the same year I was born, right? Wow. So Marvel has decided to do something enormously disappointing. Okay, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up. And yeah, I'm going to get up right now. I'll be right back because I got to show you something. I have to show you something. I should have been better prepared, but I do have it here in the background. Just bear with me as I get this, because this is what the new Punisher, well, I guess this is the War Journal version, but look at this. This was a comic book that was put out. Look at that logo on there. Okay, they changed up the logo. Now look at what he's holding. He's holding a sword. Guns are gone. All right, so we went from a guy holding a bazooka. Okay, he's holding a bazooka directly at a window. Okay, within inches from a window with a bazooka. That's bigger than his body almost, right? To whatever the hell this is. All right, just take a look at this. Look at that logo. All right, I don't even know where to begin, folks. For those of us who grew up in the 80s, even 90s, and we were party to so many incredible projects that were put out, things like Death Wish, Die Hard, really true, hardcore, gritty, rough characters, Rambo. I mean, listen, we were spoiled, I think. There was some really wonderful true action heroes out there. And what's happening these days, I've said this before, a lot of people think it's a cultural thing. And there is truth to that. But I think there's also a big generational component to this. I think somehow and somewhere it became uncool to be tough and strong and to stand for, something, powerful and potent. And this is a character here in the Punisher who lost his family. And he knew that he wasn't going to get the kind of justice that he needed. So he took a look around at his environment, again, at the time, and saw what was happening to criminals. Okay, criminals simply weren't being addressed, in his view, the way they needed to be addressed. And he took a stand, and that stand gave us the Punisher. Not a character unlike the Paul Kersey character, played by Charles Bronson in the movie Death Wish, which is a book by Garfield. I think his name is Brian Garfield. Obviously, riveting story. So riveting that the series, the Death Wish series, was very huge success. Made on a very low budget, but All of the movies made money. And of course, they got a bit crazy and campy there towards the end, but there's an audience for it. And there's still an audience for it. There's a huge audience for it. Look what happens anytime there's a deviation from the current norm, which, the norm today is pretty weak, frankly. But when you do see these deviations, they're almost exclusively successful. And I give you the Jack Reacher series, which I believe is on Amazon Prime. I was reading Lee Child, who's the author of the series, the Reacher series. I was reading the Lee Child series of the Reacher books. I'm pretty sure it was late 90s or early 2000s. I don't know if it's probably early 2000s, like 2002, 2003, around there is when I started, reading them. It could have been a bit earlier, but I'm thinking it's probably going to be around 2001, around there. And these are, by the way, these are prose books, all right, that you can get at your bookshop, your bookstore, even pharmacies and Barnes and Noble type things. And I said to myself, wow, this guy's got this guy's a pretty powerful character here. I wasn't expecting this. I think I was on a vacation at the time. I said, let me just stop by and pick this up. This cover looks interesting, and the synopsis here looks pretty interesting. So let me pick it up. Looks like a pretty tough guy. Let me read this thing. I couldn't put it down. This is one of these, $9, $10 paperbacks that you get at the pharmacy. This guy was doing things that I had never, outside of the Paul Kersey character, the Death Wish, I'd never read anything like this, a character like this. This guy's going in there, busting doors down, grabbing people by the neck, throwing them through the window, running them over with a car. This is this is crazy. I love it. This is some hardcore action, which I hadn't gotten in quite a while. And I really took to these novels. And I picked up quite a few of them. I think all in all, I think I have a good 8 or 10 of the Reacher novels. And I am enormously pleased with how successful the Amazon Prime project has been. The character who plays the Reacher character, I didn't like him. I think it was a good choice. In the beginning, I thought it was a little rough, because I think the character is written in a way that he's very clever. In addition to being a big, brutish type of dude, he's also very clever. And you certainly started to see it later on in that first episode, and certainly by the second and third. I said, all right, well, they've got somebody. This guy's doing a good job. And they, in fact, did write it correctly, because his intellect and his prowess for overcoming very difficult challenges was clearly evident. And they wrote that very well into the script there. And like I said, early on, I saw, this guy's just a muscle guy. And it's clear that they took their time. They listened to Child. I could only assume that he's either an executive producer on it or has a very close, is very closely tied to the project, because I think they're doing it, the character, good service in the production. The production quality of the series is very good. And ultimately, this is a company that's truly believing in the character. And unfortunately, this is not what you're seeing with Marvel. Marvel has intentionally, they've decided that for whatever reason, and we'll go into that in a second, the Punisher character is no longer viable for whatever reason long term with the Marvel brand. It's their character. They can do with the character what they want. But how enormously idiotic and wasteful that is. When you know for a fact that you have an incredibly rich character, you turn around and intentionally dilute the character. First you dilute him, and you strip him from the weapons, you give him a different logo, a different kind of mission that weakens him. And then, I don't want to go into how this series ended, by the way, which it did, but let's just say it wasn't good. And certainly not for the Punisher. It was a terminal ending, and I don't want to ruin it for you in the audience who hasn't read the series. And as much as I'm maligning Marvel in this video, I don't want them to lose any business. Not that I have, not that this channel has a huge audience, but if anything, we want to help people read more comics, not the opposite. We want to have people reading as many comics as possible, frankly. And I've always been a huge fan of Marvel and DC. But again, I've never witnessed anything like this. This is the willful, intentional destruction of a character. In my view, I will give you the reasons. Because over the past few years, the character has been synonymous with certain groups that, let's just say, aren't held highly in the graces of the status quo at Marvel. Okay, the people who they're hiring now, the people who are now in charge of making decisions, business decisions, and also it could be the corporate structure as well. You know, one of them, a lot of what we hear online, or certainly what I hear online, is the cultural component of the Marvel employee. Oh, well, these guys are all espousing certain views that we disagree with. Well, keep in mind, folks, that it's not always the case that these people have decision-making power. Okay, the decision-making power comes from up top, and you don't know if these people lean a certain way, etc., etc. Maybe they do. Okay, maybe they do, and maybe it is part of the new corporate culture at Marvel to take, you know, political stances. And if that's the case, then certainly that explains it. Absolutely. But like I said, it could also be just part of, you know, from a business. You got to look at things not only culturally, but from a business perspective. If you have a business that has been so successful as Marvel has been over the years, and you have brands that, again, multi-million dollars, in many cases multi-billion-dollar brands, okay, there might be a long-term view for a certain brand that doesn't fit in with the long-term view of the company, right? And or you can change the trajectory of that character and or brand to fit the corporate culture. Unfortunately, as I mentioned before, I don't think that's a prudent thing to do, because comics have always been counterculture, okay, not corporate culture, and that's what Marvel and DC is right now. It's corporations, all right, and of course they'll do their very best to try to, you know, hide that, but they're definitely revealing themselves by this move against the Punisher. Let me break it down for you folks, and some of you already know this. The Punisher has a huge following, tons of dedicated fans that love what the Punisher's all about. They understand the story, they love the bravado, they love the gusto of the character, and for you to come in and change this, it's like, you know, I like that word gusto because, and some of you already know, I like to make the food analogies. Imagine having a really hearty meal that you really love, okay? I'm going to use chili. I'm not a big meat eater or a meat eater, period, but I love like a 3-bean chili, and I like it hot, fire. Just imagine someone coming in there, okay, has never worked on this before, come in there with a bunch of water it down, all right? They don't put any seasoning or anything on, no hot sauce. What the hell is this? Okay, this is exactly what they're doing to the quality of the product. Okay, that we're just talking about the quality of the product, the story, right? There's many other layers to this. What do you think the audience, who's been salivating month after month for this spicy bean taste, okay, in their chili, they want to dig into that pound and a half bowl of chili, and you're going to go ahead and throw ice water in there, okay, and no hot sauce? Are you out of your mind? Oh, well, that's what's happening in Marvel right now. The intentional destruction of the character. Folks, I gave you the visual example. The series started with a man with a bazooka. Okay, look at this. And look at this. This is where we're at now, folks. And in fact, it's already over. Because that series that you just saw is already done. Unbelievable. Yeah, and I'm looking at the names now, and this is actually the Punisher War Journal Blitz. There's another series that they had him in there, and I think that's where they did that story where they destroyed the character. And again, I don't want to give that out because I would rather have you enjoy it or at least try to enjoy whatever little bit of Punisher you can at this point, if there's ever going to be anything else. I mean, I don't want to speak for Marvel, but I'm going to give you my sentiment on this decision. I think it's very poor. I think it's incredibly destructive to the company. I don't think it's going to bode well for them. Frankly, what they should do, if you don't want to write the character, sell the license, or just sell it outright. Give it to another company that clearly can do something with the character, and allow us, the genuine comic book fan and certainly Punisher fan, to enjoy the story. Because what you've done to this character is atrocious. It's true creative malpractice. I mentioned this in another video. All creators should take an oath, a creative oath, because, and I don't think people understand how people in corporate companies like Marvel and DC understand how important the job of being a creator in comic books. Again, comic books Americana. It's a very important part of the American story. It's an American original. It's American mythology, for Christ's sakes. Many people are innately inspired to do enormous things, to change their lives because of the stories in the medium. The comic book medium, for many people, is the number one storytelling device on the planet. Better than movies, better than TV, everything, because you could do anything in a comic book. And that comic book you could put right in your back pocket, and it can give you so many ideas for so many different things. You can live in a comic book for at least a little while, and it can inspire you to do so many different things. Again, if you have that much power, if your pen and pencil has that much power, how on earth can you intentionally destroy a character that you know for a fact has a huge audience? A creative malpractice. That's the word. It's creative malpractice. And there should be a horrible penalty, a social penalty, and frankly a civil penalty. I mean, you're robbing a group of people. Of course, it's a private product, but my point in saying this is that there's so many people, again, who are emotionally tied into the characters. And what you're doing, you're creating emotional damage to some of these people. You are. You may not think it is, and you might laugh. You might laugh. Ha ha ha! Who's that? Weak that they're invested in a character, and that's going to impact a lot of people. Listen, it's paper. You say it's just paper and pen. Paper, pen, and pencil and ink. But what's the Bible? Okay, what's any document that inspires people? Okay, it's not just Bibles that inspire people. There's so many different stories, and that's exactly what the Bible is. It's a bunch of stories, right? There's so many stories that inspire people, movies, anything that you can share, that you create, that can inspire someone is a powerful thing. And then when you ruin that, well, you're destroying the inspiration for the person or persons who have been invested in this. Again, some of these people are paying tens of thousands of dollars, or if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, over the course of generations to draw inspiration from these stories. You're disrespecting them directly, and that's creative malpractice. That's what I'm calling it, and it's horrible. Everybody should all creators who work in comics should take a creative oath that we're going to do the very best we possibly can to create compelling stories that are going to drive the imagination, the psyche, that are going to inspire, that are going to do all these amazing things. They're going to make you cry, laugh, jump with joy, all these different things, make you think, the mysteries, so many different things you can do, scare you. It's an enormous power you have as a creator. And for you to intentionally, willfully go in knowing that there's a huge audience for that character and just dilute it. Again, I can't use a better example. You know that these people are eating this chili. They love the chili. And you're going in there, you're knowingly going in with ice and water and doing this all over it. How the hell you do something like that? And again, I appreciate that this is a corporate product, that this belongs to you. It's a private entity. But this is the problem when you get the corporations involved. And that's why, folks, the reason I'm bringing this very important note to you guys on this is that you're not seeing this in the indies. The indie creators are putting everything they can into these comics. They're sweating, they're bleeding, they're doing everything possible to make sure that you get a high quality product. And listen, it's not just Sigma Comics, there's a bunch of us out there. And you know where you could see us. If you can't see us in Walmart and Target, you could see us in conventions all across the country. Sigma Comics certainly is participating in that. And listen, again, it's not just us. It's a bunch of other people out there. Help the indie community out, indie comics, and support your indie comic books, because they're going to do a good job by you, and they're going to create characters that you're going to love and that are going to give you some inspiration in your life. All right, I'm going to show you once again. I mean, just look at this. Look at the emotion in that visual. Look at that. Just take a look at that. That's love right there. That's care and passion. Look at these covers. Okay, this is severe talent, extreme talent that's being honed to serve an audience that loves this story and loves the content. I'm going to leave it there, folks. I think I've made the point, and it's just very upsetting. And I just think it's a huge shame that Marvel has done this. I think they need to get rid of a lot of people in that company and do a big change and overhaul, because monumentally, just colossally bad business decision. Then this is a character that was making them a ton of money. They wrote it incorrectly. They did a poor job on it, and there's the character. So hopefully there's a change, and I certainly would like to see that. Folks, thank you for your time. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and listen, the Punisher might be disappointing you right now because of Marvel, but I'm going to tell you who doesn't disappoint. Hey, this guy right here. This is the Calico. The Calico gets intel on people who abuse and kill animals, and let me tell you, he goes in deep. Okay, not for kids. So if you liked the Punisher, you're going to love Here Comes Calico. Give us a shot. Again, like button, subscribe button. Keep on fighting for animals.